So I believe that it is time to get formally started with our presentation today. And I want to start with asking, are your employees silently asking for help? And what I mean by this is that burnout is real. We've been through COVID. People are lonely. They miss that tactile contact that they've had with people. And they're probably a little bit tired of Zoom meetings. So I'm really glad that you decided to join us today. But first of all, I want to share with you how burnout got started. And I didn't know this until I was researching this topic recently. But it said that burnout was first coined in 1974. I'm pretty sure most of us on this call were alive in 1974. And it was coined by Herbert Freudenberger, which sounds a little German to me. He wrote a book called Burnout, The High Cost of High Achievement. And I think that kind of tells you where we might be going here with some of our comments today, and especially in your personal life. But the comment that he made that I thought was extremely important is that he said, burnout is the extinction of motivation or incentive, especially when activities don't produce the desired results. And that's where I would like to take the conversation today, is this feeling that people have that I'm not getting any value from what I'm doing. You know, where are we going? I'm not getting the satisfaction. I'm not getting the affirmation I need from my leaders and from my immediate managers. So there are personal signs of burnout, and people feel this. And I know as we go through these that you will say, yes, I have experienced that, because there's physical symptoms like really low energy. It's like some days I can hardly get out of bed. It's like, oh, great. And then it turns into aches and pains. And I know it took me a long time to believe this, that the physical symptoms are really turning into my stomach ache or my backache or whatever. That seems incredible to me that it's related, but it is. And frequent illnesses. And by the way, I know that if I get really upset about something, I'm probably going to get a cold. So I try really hard not to get that upset. And then you have emotional symptoms, which is like irritability with people. I feel overwhelmed. I just can't handle this today. That goes along with not wanting to get out of bed, right? And moodiness. You know, I can be up here one minute and down here the next. Then you have cognitive symptoms, which is the inability to concentrate. And memory. You know, I just can't remember. And with this, sometimes, I don't know about you, but I will have poor judgment. I will make bad decisions. And then you have behavioral symptoms, such as eating, sleeping issues. Now, I don't have eating issues, but I do have sleeping issues at times. And procrastination, wow, that's a big one. Isn't it easy to just put things off when you're not feeling very well? And you have nervous habits like foot tapping and pen snapping, you know, people that are constantly doing with their pens. And so you just kind of feel drained, and you feel negative about the tasks you've been assigned, and you seem to lack mental and emotional energy, not just physical energy, but you seem to lack that as well. So what we want to do as managers is to look around and say, can I spot this job burnout? You know, do you have employees that are becoming real critical or cynical about where the company's going, what's happening with the hybrid work or back to the office? Are they continually showing up late for work or logging in if they're working remotely? Do you see them dilly-dallying? And we talked about the low energy. And maybe they're just plain disillusioned about their job and where the company's going. And you can talk about that, okay? One of the symptoms, though, is that they're making errors more frequently because they're having a hard time concentrating, and maybe they're taking those extra long lunches and breaks. The thing that might be the most critical for you, though, is are they taking shortcuts on processes or quality, which is going to impact what goes out your door to your customers and to your clients. And if they're irritable or impatient with them, then you've really got problems, because how people feel inside and about themselves at that given day is how they treat other people. So you can see how critical this is for your company. And do they disagree with your decisions or the direction of the company? And so as we get into this, you'll know that it's very critical for you now to be talking about the direction of the company after COVID and where you're going, because we've been through some bumpy months. We can all admit that. So now there's different types of job burnout. We're going to talk about 4 today that I think are critical for you to talk about in your companies. And therefore, of course, are deadlines, deadline burnout, skills and passion burnout, culture burnout, and alignment burnout. And some of the questions that people ask about this is, can't we fix the people? And sometimes they don't think about fixing the job situation. And that's why we're talking about the job situation and the culture in the company today. Because you can't do a lot to fix people, okay? But you can provide this environment, and you can fix some of those job situations that help them fix themselves. Now, I have one more comment to talk about, about fixing people. Some people have this idea that work should be fun all the time. And I'm sorry, work is work. We should have delight at times, and we should have downtimes at work. But what I'd bring out to you is the 80-20 rule. And I've talked a lot about the 80-20 rule in my time management presentations, because the 80-20 rule says that 80%, if you're in sales, 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your clients. And if you're in time management, 80% of the things that you do probably don't bring you the results you want. It's the 20%, and that help you climb the ladder of success. And so in this discussion, what we're talking about is that 80% of the things of the job that you're doing, you have to like or get some satisfaction from. 20%, no one could like. Okay, so if you want to help people understand this, teach them help them understand that this 80%, do you like this? Do you enjoy this part of the job? And then this 20%, help them dispose of it quickly. And personally, if you can dispose of it quickly, if you can delegate, do it. If you can do it as quick as you can and get rid of it, then do it as quick as you can. So there's different ways that you can get through the things that you don't like and focus on the 20% that you do like. And this is how you mentally and emotionally fix yourself if the job situation and the environment and the culture is good at your company. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this burnout. Deadline burnout. Have you ever worked for a manager where everything is a crisis? That will give you deadline burnout. And sometimes they're experiencing this personal burnout from the pressure to meet the deadlines. Yeah, I mean, I'm already burned out personally, okay? I've got all these pressures on me, and things aren't going well at home, and my kid's doing this, and et cetera, and et cetera. And this person over here, this is really irritating me. I don't know why they hired this person. And so they have those personal issues going on. And then when you put the deadline on them, it's even greater pressure. Now, I would like you to ask, are they unrealistic timelines for the number of personnel on the team? Sometimes you need an extra hand, or you need to invite to hire someone to help you through these times of meeting the deadlines when everyone's bogged down. And maybe there's unforeseen project risks, needs, or challenges that could have been handled and envisioned and taken care of if you had some forethought going in. So that's kind of on the manager or on the leaders of the company. And then there could be lack of critical communication or insufficient delegation from the leader to team members. This is a really big one, and it goes along with the next one there, which is changing targets without thorough discussion and understanding the why. Sometimes we'll get deadline burnout because, I worked so hard on this. I worked so hard on this last week, and they came in and said, well, we're going to change our way. We're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And I want you to jump right on this job. And you're going like, I wasted a whole week. And so this happens when you don't understand the why, the big picture, and when there's not sufficient communication between the leader and the team members. So make sure that you are helping people understand the why and communicating with them if you're in this role. Now, the skill passion burnout is very interesting because we all have areas, we all have our gifts, we all have areas that we do very well, okay? But we just need sometimes training opportunities to refresh and update our skills because, our world goes really fast and technology changes quickly. So if you're feeling that, if the people are feeling that, then give them a chance to have a training class. Maybe they feel like there's restricted career mobility for climbing the ladder of success at your company, and that's why they're sharpening that resume up and putting it out there in the world. Limited project and work diversity. In other words, employees have been in the roles too long. And I say this because people need challenge to enable their creativity and to stimulate innovative thoughts. And to me, that's a lot of the rewards I get from my job, is this creativity that is required. And other people, I believe, feel the same way. When you have a creative thought and your leader likes it, you feel affirmed as well. And once again, it comes down to some insufficient communication, but the most important word there is the affirmation between the individual and the manager. People need encouragement. They need encouragement, especially coming out of COVID, that they're doing a good job, that they're on the right track. Because if they feel that their work doesn't matter, they're going to get sucked right down into those feelings of, I don't matter. Why am I doing this? And they get sucked into that low energy and all the things that we were talking about with feeling negative about work and negative about themselves. So then we come to alignment burnout. And I find alignment burnout very interesting because in my book, How to Earn the Gift of Discretionary Effort, we talk about how a chiropractor aligns your spine for the best health you can get. We talk about how tires have to be rotated and aligned on your car so they don't wear out unevenly. And in a magnet, to be a magnet, all the electrons have to be aligned or it doesn't make a magnet. And so the analogy here is that your employees need to be aligned with the vision. They need to be aligned with what's happening with your mission, with your objectives, with all the goals that you have. And so when there's unclear or limited, inconsistent goal setting, and the end of that sentence is very important. See, it has to be, or it's great to have input from the employees who are affected by that decision or that goal setting. So get them in the room and let them talk about it. Alignment burnout also happens when you have an absence of clear job descriptions that may have changed during the pandemic. So now's a perfect time to check them out. There's lack of communication between leadership, team leads, and team members. See, the leadership may think that we're going this way, and the team leads think, well, we're going this way, and you're saying, I thought we were going this way. So communication again comes in. It has to cascade down from the top leadership through the team leads to the team members to keep them on the right track. Because remember, they do have creativity and they like to use that. And if they're using the creativity going down the wrong path, then it doesn't benefit anyone. So then we have lack of established performance management processes that are not defining their outcomes correctly. Then you have questions that are not answered with limited two-way conversations. What I mean by that is if you're just delegating and saying, do this, you're not permitting people to ask you questions about the direction, then that is limited two-way conversations because they need to affirm, they need to understand where it's going and have it clear in their mind about where they're going. So this all comes down to the lack of proper delegation, which is a whole nother webinar. So then we have culture burnout. Culture burnout, and I think this is one of the funnest things to talk about right now, is because after COVID, we're starting a new era of life, you might say, and we have to reestablish what our mission and values and strategy and goals are and objectives after this pandemic. Because there's disconnect often between the stated objective and from the leadership down to and the everyday work that's getting done by the workers. And sometimes this lack of transparency leads to distrust. I shouldn't say sometimes, it always does. And there can be conflict and tension between team members and among teams in your organization. So that's another thing that leaders have to tackle. Then stress around deadlines, marketing performance, and team performance in your culture is also critical. And external current events, we know how that can affect the burnout of your employees. So let's take part 2 now, emotional intelligence. And I find this very fascinating that Vince Van Gogh had this statement because he had no emotional intelligence, okay? He's the one that cut off his ear and gave it to the woman of his affection. But he said, let's not forget that the little emotions are the great captains of our lives and we obey them without realizing it. Now that gives you a key into what emotional intelligence is. Because when we're talking about emotional intelligence, we have to understand that it's more important than IQ. See, if you're in a leadership role, you've probably already have time-honored business smarts, okay? You can intellectually and you have technical skills, you have intellectual capability to do the job, and you're technically astute about what's happening. But emotional intelligence goes beyond the administrative nuts and bolts of leadership, or what I like to call management, and emphasizes how your emotions affect others and how you can use that knowledge to create positive outcomes, both personally and with the people you manage. Because you are going to be, as you manage these people, you're going to be modeling for them what great emotional intelligence looks like. So let's define emotion. Well, it's a mental state that arises spontaneously. It just happens inside your head rather than conscious effort. And it's often caused by or accompanied by physiological changes. It's a feeling that you get. So, when you're getting angry, you can know that there are physiological changes going on in your body, like your face is getting red, the temperature's going up. So that's the emotion, okay? And then when we say intelligence, well, it's the ability to understand or deal with those emotions that are starting to come into your head, into your reality. And it's the skilled use of reason. In other words, once I know that these emotions are coming in, then I'm going to use my cognitive abilities to reason, to cope with the daily demands of this living and of working with these people. So we put the emotional, what's happening, and we put it together with intelligence or understanding how to cope with what's going on. So what is emotional intelligence, or EQ as it is popularly called? Is the ability to understand your own emotions and then be able to observe and understand the emotions of others. And then you drive productivity and earn the loyalty of your direct reports by using your emotional intelligence and your ability to key into them. So what problems does a leader who is not emotionally intelligent cause? Well, there are myriad. He may, emotional intelligence, a leader that doesn't have it, may not be able to gauge the needs and wants and expectations of those they lead. They have trouble filtering the emotions, which causes mistrust among their employees. And they can't seem to stop from jeopardizing their working relationships with outbursts. And they react in erratic and detrimental emotions. They come flooding out of their bodies. And they stop from damaging they can't stop from damaging the overall culture and attitudes and positive feelings for the company, because they are causing negative feelings. And this trickles down to the organization. It sets a poor example of how to treat others, and it causes low discretionary effort and thus low innovation and low productivity. It can lead to challenging and very difficult conversations. And it never permits them to suspect that he or she may be part of the problem. Oh, no. In this instance, it's all the people. It's not me. So that's what poor emotional intelligence does. And what's interesting is that you can change your emotional intelligence easier than any other component of your personality. Now, EQ, you can change it on a daily basis. I also teach the DISC and the driving forces, and these are pretty well set. At conception, your DISC model is kind of set, and they say that it's really set by the time you're in your teens, and the driving force is the same way. And the IQ doesn't change after about 15, 16, 17 either, but EQ can change on a daily basis if you choose to have it change. And this is the EQI that I use. That's a very thorough emotional intelligence assessment. And so our focus in the last few minutes that we have together here is to work on the interpersonal. Which means that we're going to be talking about the way that you interact with people. We're talking about the personal power you have and the impact, the influence you have on people, how you deal with difficult people, how you can be an authentic leader, how you can have mindful listening for people, and how you can show empathy to them. These are all the things that will make you a great emotionally intelligent leader. So in a post-COVID work climate, soft skills such as emotional intelligence are more in demand than ever before. And workforces with high EQ are more agile and better suited for survival because they have the skills to talk to one another and communicate with one another. Now, this is part 3. Let's talk about some strategies of things that you can do. Okay, I had to put this in here. You can see if you want to go look at the place that it came from, I put it there for you. But Richard Branson, Virgin Airlines, said train people well enough so they can leave if they want to, but treat them well enough so they don't want to. I find that's pretty important as we restructure our culture and as we redefine who we are in companies. So we know that things have changed because in the late 20th century, early 21st century even, we were motivated by a carrot or a stick, right? But now Ed is not motivated by the carrot, and Ed is not motivated by the stick, because we've been hearing all these things about well-being in organizations and how leaders have to start thinking about the total human being, not just the carrot or the stick. So emotionally intelligent leaders will invest time and attention, and note this says with individual team members. You're going to have one-on-one conversations with them, hopefully weekly. And they promote transparency in what's happening in the company, and they promote positive problem solving. In other words, you're the key as a manager to help that person overcome the blocks in the assignments that they have. I don't call that micromanaging. I call it helping them identify a block and get it out of their way. So deadline burnout, this is just a review here. If you see anything there that jumps out at you, go ahead and put it in the chat. Is there one of these that is the most important in your work or that you've seen in your company? You can go ahead and put that in the chat. But if people have deadline burnout, what I would like to suggest to you is that you have to ask yourself, are they really under such stress that I need to move this deadline? And do they need some time management training? So critical. Just one little tip here. Make sure that they are closing out their day every single day. That means that they're going down, they're checking off what they got done, and they're moving what didn't get done into the next day, or 2 days from now, or 3 days. But they need to close out their day every single day. And if they do this, another thing about deadline burnout and time management is that they need to have deadlines on their calendars, on those, I don't know if they're using datebook organizers or paper calendars or digital calendars, but it needs to be on their calendars. And so, as I said, it's not micromanaging to reach out to team members and discuss the blocks to meeting the deadline. And once identified, then you remove that block. You extend psychological safety. Psychological safety is a huge topic right now. It means that you let them surface the truth without being put down or punished for surfacing the truth. So you acknowledge their concerns about the deadline and you problem solve solutions. So skill, passion burnout. Once again, if something that you see in your company is the most prevalent, then go ahead and put that in the chat. So skill, passion burnout, ask yourself, do they need a new assignment? Do they have a skill deficiency that's causing them to not meet the deadline? Or are they overqualified and they're just plain bored? So you have to reevaluate their role and realign their role to stretch their ability sometimes. And because remember, the challenge is what some people need to feel really important to your organization and to you, so they can give you added value. So give them a new challenge. Do they like task diversity? Are they just so bored with one thing? Could they benefit from cross-training? Could you send them to a conference or let them take a class? These are all things that as you look at individuals and have individual conversations with them that you can determine. So alignment burnout, once again, think about it. If there's something there that pops out or if everything pops out, you can put everything in the chat. But when alignment burnout happens, then you have to uncover the communications that may have gone awry. In other words, you think everything's on track because you thought you gave them the right communications. You thought you told them exactly what to do, but they quite didn't understand and they quite didn't get it, which is a problem with inadequate delegation, is that if they shake their head, it doesn't mean that they're clear on what you delegated. It means they heard you. So you have to make sure that they understand the limits and the parameters of each assignment you give them. Some people feel like they're condescending if they ask them to kind of give them their view of what you assigned them. But there's nice ways to do that, good ways to do that, but it is still important. So once again, you provide psychological safety for team members to express their concerns and describe the misalignment in one-on-one meetings and in a team meeting. Don't be afraid of having those conversations in team meetings. Make the direction clear, uncover disagreement with the direction, because that's when you will address it right then, and check their understanding. And then here it comes to culture burnout. And I love to talk about culture burnout because that's what you leaders are in the role of, is building this culture. Okay, so culture burnout happens when there's a lack of openness and when trust has been destroyed. And I guess you know that trust, you can work years to build trust and you can destroy it in one sentence. So the question is, do you really know what your company culture is? Or are you just guessing? Are you fantasizing that you have a really great culture that people love and that they're willing to work for? Because an emotionally intelligent leader invites a relationship of openness, authenticity, trust, the psychological safety, as we've been talking about. And all of this moves your company closer to the culture that you want to achieve. And so, in my opinion, the culture is one where people enjoy 80% of their jobs, 20%. No one could like, but they enjoy that 80% and they enjoy the camaraderie that's there and the teamwork that's going on. And they have ways to address things when they disagree or when there's misunderstandings between team members. So we could go into this a little bit more, and we do in my book, How to Earn the Gift of Discretionary Effort. But do you understand the difference between the implicit culture and the explicit culture? Explicit culture is what is in your handbook. It's in your job descriptions. It's in all of the assignments, all of the instructions that you give to people. But implicit is what really goes on. And sometimes there's a disconnect between those two. So evaluate your implicit versus your explicit culture and see if that's causing the problem. Because you want to look for disconnect between where the employee thinks the company's going and where you think the company is going or where you think the team is going. And that comes out in your implicit culture. So you rebuild culture and you prevent burnout. Trusted employees whose emotions are valued and who aren't subjected to negative, unfiltered emotions of superiors, coworkers, or team members simply perform better. And see, when that says unfiltered emotions, that's what's happened when you don't have emotional intelligence. Now, we can work, and we have to be honest here, because I have worked a long time in emotional intelligence, and still it's like, whoa. Where did that come out of my mouth? So, like I say, emotional intelligence is something that you can improve every single day of your life. Because the better that you model emotional intelligence for them or filtering the emotions that you have, then this collaboration improves, the productivity increases, and the bottom line shows positive results. And that's what we are aiming for, is to have a positive bottom line and a place in the marketplace that's positive. So the emotionally intelligent leader knows that EQ is the backbone of congenial relationships and understanding. They put aside their own ego and their self-promotion to empathize with others, to see what they're going through. Not that we're going to be the psychologist in there, but you can empathize with what they're going through. They model humility. Humility means that I'm open to your suggestions and even to your criticism. So you foster trust and collaboration through this openness. So the emotionally intelligent leader makes an effort to truly understand their employees. Remember, I suggested one-on-one communication with them? And they serve their employees instead of the other way around. They respect the humanity of each individual, and they set direct reports up for success. That takes a really emotionally intelligent leader to want people to be better than them, because if they're better than you, then they're just pushing you up the ladder of success as well. And serves employees instead of the other way around. I suggest Simon Sinek's book, Leaders Eat Last. He's talking about leadership in the Marine Corps. And that's what happens, is that leaders eat last. They serve their employees and make them better. So the emotionally intelligent leader understands challenging circumstances at work can bring immense stress. And so that's why they want to have empathy with these people and want to be able and have an open conversation to attack the stress that's there. They know that attempting to achieve difficult, long-term, and even lofty goals can lead to intense emotions. See, as a leader, I can set this lofty goal out there, but I might forget that it's the people on the line, it's the people that are actually performing the project management tasks that are experiencing the intense emotion. Now, the emotionally intelligent leader knows if things are not going well, and they may be frustration, anger, worry,